Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, we all love to talk trades. It's the best thing about the NBA sometimes. But are we sure the Suns need one? And if they do, is there actually a good one on the table? We're talking all things deals next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. I am Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Thursday. Do not forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So just click that button, subscribe, follow, do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns each and every day with us right here. Today's sponsor is the wonderful folks at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. The football season, of course. Hey, come on. We got a little ways to go before the NBA season, but place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Joining me, as always, the executive producer of The Drive on Fox Sports 910 from the wonderful West Valley. How are we feeling on this Thursday, Ben Garcia?
I'm feeling so good. You know, you always mention the West Valley, which I think is a fantastic tagline. That is all something you came up with. No one lives in the West Valley. No one. Everyone lives in the East Valley. It's a little frustrating. I thought growing up that everyone was in the West Valley. Turns out I'm the only person here. And so, yeah, it gets a little frustrating sometimes.
Well, you got to have the representation. That's why I shout you out. You got to stand for the people. You got to be one of the ones who are loud and proud about your roots here. Okay, trades. We've talked a lot about trades already. It's inevitable when we're doing a preview thing like this here, but we're going to really deep dive it today. And the place that I want to start, Ben, is whether or not the Suns actually need a trade. Are we positive that this is something that this team needs in order to hit its ceiling, to win a championship, to get where it wants to go? What do you think?
Yes. As an opinionist, I've just got to take one way or the other. So there is a small piece of me that's like, maybe not. And that small piece is just, honestly, Ryan Dunn, which I've beaten like a million times before on this show, is if Ryan Dunn works out, no. But there's like a 90% chance in his rookie year that's probably not going to happen for every Derek Lively. It's a lot of, you know, whatever the Lakers are drafting or other teams late in the rounds getting players. So it just doesn't necessarily happen. So yeah, the Suns team does need a trade. Not right away. They have to evaluate where they're at the beginning. Hopefully they get off to a nice start. And then come February, yeah. And also that's kind of where the prices come down a little bit. The prices don't go up closer to the trade deadline. Teams that are trying to sell very quickly. Players go for less than they normally do. Second round picks are currency in the NBA. The Suns have plenty of those to throw around. And so, yeah, especially in the front court and in the small forward position, yeah, this team desperately needs some guys. I'm not so sure how sold I am on Miles Plumlee yet. Whenever the Suns get someone, or any of my favorite teams get someone, I always go to the opposing team's reaction to it. And Mason Plumlee got some mixed reactions from the Clippers fans. Like, oh, finally, this guy's out of here. And it was, oh, he was a solid backup piece. What's he going to be here? I don't know. Fit matters. And then it's also about the wings position. Kevin Durant makes up for a lot, but you need another bigger body come playoff time. So if I'm just being honest, overwhelmingly about 90% of me says, yes, this team needs a deal. What about you?
So to me, if we're talking about if the Suns need a trade, I think the question I ask right away next is, do you believe that the ceiling has been hit for this type of lineup, which is the big three, Yousef Nurkic, and either Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal? If you believe they tapped out on what that five, give or take man grouping can do, they need a trade, right? But I talked about this a little bit yesterday, as the everydayers know. I'm not willing to believe that group is completely capped out. I think that they can be, frankly, maybe a touch better on offense if they clean up some of the small things. And you're already talking about a group that had like a 128 offensive rating, which is absolutely absurd. If they can do that, maybe be a little better than the sum of their parts on defense through just kind of buy-in and bud and, another year together of chemistry and continuity. I mean, there was parts of me, even during how ugly last season was, where I would have sat here and I did sit here and say, there's a chance they could still win a championship. So those guys are still here. They could be even better together. I'm not fully closing the door on the fact, on the possibility that it could work. But I'm also definitely not turning off the phones and saying, don't call us on a trade.
This team can absolutely get better. That is a whole nother question. This team together clearly can get better. They got to play more together. The chemistry's got to get better. There's different players in this lineup that I alluded to yesterday. Yeah, 100%. They need to show me that with this group, they are already a contender. Because championship teams are not put together at the trade deadline. No matter how much I wanted to believe it in 2023, no matter how much any other Suns fan wanted to believe it. Because it was Chris Paul, it was DeAndre Ayton, it was Devin Booker, it was Kevin Durant. I was like, who's stopping this team? And then the Nuggets had something to say about that. Granted, Chris Paul got injured in that series, but that's a tale as old as time. Chris Paul got injured. This team can 100% get better. And you said it. This is not my point. This was your point. Maybe it was even the comment section's point. They had mentioned the 9th place ain't good enough for this offensive team. They've got to be better. Like, they've got to be top 5. Because we don't know how great they're going to be on defense, but I have to just assume they're not going to be as good. And so, yeah, this team 1,000% has got to get better offensively, and defensively, they have to show some willingness to defend and show as well that with the sum of their parts, chemistry-wise, they're not getting absolutely blasted on defense. Defense no longer, in my opinion, wins you championships in any sport because it's just everything's so offensively driven. But you can't be diabolically bad like some teams are.
Yeah.
Like the Suns were in the fourth quarter last year. You just can't have that. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. But to put this team over the top, I do believe they do need that extra guy.
I like your point on timing. I think timing is a good framing for it because, and I think you said last week when we were talking, you expect some maybe growth. What is it? Growing pains? There we go.
Growing pains, 100%.
And I could see it. I haven't thought about it necessarily in those terms, but I think that what we're going to have to see right away from this group is, can the guys we know will play the way that we think they'll play, kind of the first plan A, let's call it, can that work? And I think pretty quickly, if that doesn't work, if maybe a Monte Morris doesn't start the season in the rotation, if maybe a Ryan Dunn doesn't start the season in the rotation, or whatever the case may be, that might be like November, December, January, we start to see the rollout of some of those adjustments from a rotation and a style standpoint. And then if those don't work, it gets very quickly to trade. So for me to buy in and believe that no trade happens and they just roll and maybe get a buyout guy here or a tiny trade, but not at the level we're talking about, they probably have to be pretty good out of the gates to convince ownership and management and each other that they're good enough. Because I don't think if they're 500 on Christmas, for instance, that anybody's going to be fine saying, we'll figure it out anymore. And so that I guess, wiggle room, it's just not going to be there this year the same way that it was last year, which, look, they didn't have many options to make a trade last year anyway, but that's beside the point.
I encourage everyone to give the Suns a 20-game grace period. I don't know what that takes you to at Christmas time. I haven't counted up the games, but 20 to 25 games will tell you a lot about a team. Hardly ever do you get a Dallas Mavericks team that is so abysmally bad after the trade deadline and then figures it out, gets some chemistry, and then makes a run all the way to the NBA Finals. That doesn't really happen. It mostly starts to kick into gear late December, and then those teams just kind of get rolling all the way through the end of the season. Now, there's some bumps, there's some bruises, losing streaks, whatever. But you know what a team is absolutely by 30 games, barring health, and same thing at 20 to 25 games. So we will know by then. We'll know, okay, this team is the 4th seed. and it's very clumped up. The only thing that separates them from the 6th seed is 3 games, but they're also only 4 games out of the 1st seed. Are you willing to mortgage your future even further and a player that you like, and probably a Grayson Allen or maybe even a Jusuf Nurkic, who knows, and get that next piece that you need? It is a gamble, man. That's a dice roll. But you're already all the way in. And listen, are you going to be half in or all the way in or all the way out? You can't be half. You either got to go all in with this thing, see it through, mortgage the future, or you're going to step back and you're going to be like, we've done enough, and that's not going to work either. Don't you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, I think if they don't make a trade, they're either awesome out of the gates, like I said, or the writing is kind of on the wall that it just doesn't work. That's another possibility here, is that it's like, I don't want it to go this way, but that it's just so ugly by February that there's no need, and I don't think that's likely, but those are the only pathways. I think otherwise, if there's any question that they can get better, they're going to do something. So let's talk about, you mentioned the players they could give up. You listed 2 of them. There's 2 more who we haven't mentioned. I'm going to ask Ben who he would rather give up, considering salary, length of the contract, how good is the player, what else are you attaching? And we'll each give our picks for what we would prefer the outgoing package to be from this Suns team next. First, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's been a while from our friends at PrizePicks, but we love them. I honestly do. I say they fix fantasy sports. I believe it. They've turned into America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. So it's not just me who thinks that. There's 5 million people a day on this thing. But they basically have said, hey, you don't like leagues, you don't like pools, you don't like sharks that are just playing you. Well, hey, just compete against the PrizePicks player projections. Pick more or less on a stat type and a player, and just watch if you win. That's it. It's so much more fun. You're testing and quizzing yourself, which is what I love about fantasy, much more so than dealing with all the nonsense of the people you're playing and, oh, my lineup got locked and I hate that. No. You versus the projections. They put their members first. Withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure, and you get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the PrizePicks app today, guys. Check it out for yourself. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNBA on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the 50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. Today's episode also brought to you by the Gametime app, the best place to buy any ticket. And Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, which puts the best stuff at the top. It makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier, filtering out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats right when you log in. Whether you're opening the app fresh, what do I want to do this weekend, just checking out what's going on in Phoenix, or you've decided, hey, I want to go see D-backs Padres this weekend, it's going to give you the best prices, the best values right up top every time. Click the little tab that says show me my all-in pricing so you know exactly what you're spending, see the view from your seat, and you're set. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, Ben. Back here, keeping the show rolling. Reminder to check out Locked On NBA, folks, all month long for season preview coverage. We're mixing things up next month, so get excited. I'm going to list you 4 names, Ben. You ready? They're the only 4 guys I think we see traded on this Suns team this year. Mm-hmm. Yousef Nurkic, Grayson Allen, who you mentioned, and then Royce O'Neal and Josh Okogie. Those are the only 4 guys who aren't part of this big 3 or basically minimum players. Maybe, a Damian Lee or, but we're not going to focus on that. And who actually make a real amount of money here. So let me throw it at you. Considering everything we know about those 4 players and their contracts, who would you prefer to give up in an ideal world to get the best addition to make this Suns team better?
So I was looking on Google really quickly because you had mentioned a name I totally forgot about. Josh Okogie. He makes $16 million, makes $8 million. You can get a real player potentially for that, or at least some depth. That's a really interesting name that I forgot about because everyone knows Josh Okogie ain't worth $16 million. But the Suns were playing mega mind games and giving these guys a little bit more money. Royce O'Neal's kind of in that same scenario. I believe he makes $30 million, basically 10 million every year.
Yeah, let me just list it off. So Nurk makes 18.1 this year.
Yep.
Grayson makes 15.6. Royce makes 9.9. And Okogie makes 8.3. And again, you mentioned the Okogie contract. The second year is non-guaranteed. So the team acquiring him is really just on the hook for the remainder of this season whenever he eventually went out the door. So yeah, you have a mix there. You have a variety of the types of tiers of players that the Suns could get if they were to send these guys out. And that's part of your pick here. So if you trade Nurk, you can get a more expensive guy back. If you're trading Okogie, you're going to have to find a cheaper player who still makes the Suns better.
I am not in the business of trading Royce O'Neal, and I don't think that there's a trade out there to trade Royce O'Neal. Let me just go through it really quickly. Royce O'Neal, we are already short in the wing department. He's one of, believe it or not, our bigger players. He still shoots the ball decently well, although it was kind of spotty last year with the Suns. A fine defender. I don't think you're getting anyone back that can help with the Royce O'Neal aspect. Josh Okogie, yes, it just depends what you're going to get, right? It just depends. Yousef Nurkic, I'm not trading Yousef Nurkic. I know people drive it crazy. I know I've seen as a Yousef Nurkic stan. I just don't see the guy as DeAndre Ayton anymore. Everyone else still does. They all just want him to be what DeAndre Ayton was supposed to be. I think the odd guy out is Grayson Allen, man. I love Grayson Allen. Been one of my favorite players for a very long time. Stifling defender. Loved the guy at Duke. I just kind of like villains, and he was a villain for a really long time. Grayson Allen, though, is kind of the odd guy out. He does exactly what Devin Booker and Bradley Beal do, just at a lower efficiency in terms of he's not the shot creator, and he's not going to ever be the volume scorers those guys are. I love Grayson Allen. He was awesome last year. He saved that DeAndre Ayton trade from looking way worse than it actually is. But at this point, he just is. We already have too much of Grayson Allen. Yeah. We already got a bunch of short guards that can shoot the ball really well. So I think it is him. I think he's the odd guy out. What about you?
The other part of the case for him, right, is because he's the best player of this four, you have to give up the least with him, probably, right? Like we were going back and forth a little bit on Grayson for, Dorian Finney-Smith, who we'll maybe mention a little bit in the next segment, and it's like, how much is fair to give up with Grayson is another interesting question, but it's definitely a lot less than you're having to attach to a Nurkic or honestly an Okogie, who's that's a guy that's probably not playing for the Suns and probably not playing for the next team that he goes to. He just is this kind of salary chip in this weird way this year, and so that's all kind of connected here. But my pick is Nurkic. My pick is Nurkic because I just haven't seen enough over the course of his career to believe that what we saw in the playoffs, yes, was an aberration. He was uncharacteristically bad, missing gimmies around the basket, looking like either he had no idea what was going on with the defense or that, the team just collapsed and he couldn't save them. Either way, it got ugly. I don't think it'll be that bad again, but I don't think he's the answer in a postseason series at the center position. And frankly, you mentioned Mason Plumlee. I get it. Clippers fans weren't exactly sad to see him go, but the dude's 34. I don't really need him to be anything great. I don't think the distance between him and Nurkic is so huge. And I'm also fairly intrigued to see what Oso Ighodaro can be. So if you were to tell me, hey, trade the most expensive guy on this list, Jusuf Nurkic at $18.1 million, give up a little something, maybe the 2031 pick, maybe some of the seconds, whatever it ends up being, and you can get a pretty established $15, $16, $17 million player back at a position of need, that's pretty enticing to me. And it takes the least away from the team with the obvious chance to upgrade. But again, we'll get into it in the next segment. All of this is dependent on who the hell are you getting back, right?
Absolutely. And I'm really curious to see who you have the Suns getting back. Otherwise, you're going to get real pushback from me. But Yousef Nurkic, is his contract up this year?
I think he has another year after this.
So if he has another year on
does.
that deal, that also changes what exactly you might get from him. So that's kind of my way of thinking too. I really want to caution everyone, including you, about trading Yousef Nurkic. That offense last year ran through him in terms of finding the right guy, IQ of the game. I really think Yousef Nurkic, I know he's infuriating at times, but he's the only guy we got right now at the center position.
But is the offense going to run that way with the point guard, though, right? He basically became their point guard, so that's part of it, It's sort of like you go from needing to make the best out of your playmaking options to suddenly that's a skill set that might be a little extraneous for this team,
You make a good point, because that's kind of what I was thinking of when I was kind of explaining about Yousef Nurkic. But if Budenholzer comes out, and no, he doesn't really use Nurk like Vogel did often at times last year, where he's making the right pass, but he's still missing stuff around the rim, or he just doesn't fit in Budenholzer's offense. Again, this all comes down to, I just trust Mike Budenholzer. I think he's a really smart guy, and whoever he decides isn't necessarily in this offense, I'm going to ride and die by that. But as of right now, I can only go off of what I saw last year. I really only can. Grayson Allen's going to be I think that trying to find Grayson Allen and Devin Booker and Tyus Jones and Bradley Beal, all of them minutes on a consistent basis, is going to be more of a headache than people actually think it's going to be. Yousef Nurkic, he's the only big guy we got. I'm really curious to see who you would have coming back in those trades, because I clearly thought about you could trade Nurkic, but I didn't see anyone that maybe I missed that I'd be super into.
Well, and honestly, to close out here, a point on your side of things as well. Good teams will trade for Grayson Allen. Only bad teams will be trading for Yousef Nurkic, right?
1,000%.
It's just a really difficult contract. Setting aside whatever you think of Nurkic, that contract is incredibly big. And so, you're not going to see a competitor, a contending team say, yeah, we'll add that and give you something back. No, it's going to have to be a tanker, and that limits your total options of pulling something off. All right, let's get to the real meat here. The final course. Who will the Suns acquire next? First, today's show is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, America's number one sportsbook. NFL fans, start the season with a big return on FanDuel, so when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. I'm not even going to mention the MLB team that resides in the state of Arizona today, as I have been for a while. I'm not willing to think of them, but I'll go outside of the valley here. You got a great old-fashioned NFC East duel on Thursday between the Cowboys and the Giants. Can the Cowboys salvage something of their season? They are 5.5-point road favorites. A little tough. Maybe you just put some money on a home dog. I don't know. Whatever you feel is right. Either way, you get that $200 in bonus bets to get yourself kicked off, all at FanDuel.com. All right, Ben, let's close it out. I have 8 names here. I think you have a few more. I'll just start off by answering the question you kind of threw at me at the last end of that last segment, which is where I'm going with the Nurkic side of things. I don't think the targets are going to be different between Allen and Nurkic. My only thing is I just want to subtract as little as possible, and I think that 2031 pick is very valuable. So I just think the real value is the pick. And I just want to use the guy that I'm most willing to get rid of, which is Nurkic compared to Allen. But the guys we're going to name, the salaries are going to be pretty similar. I didn't find anybody where you can only afford them if you give up Nurkic. I think I would just rather it be Nurkic if possible. So the first place I look, well, I'll let you go first. I'll let you, because mine's a little bit of a surprise. It's based on some NBA.
I'm ready to listen to yours. I do not want to eat up any more time of me yapping about nonsense. I want to hear who you got.
It's based on some NBA news of the day. Can you guess where I'm going? Can you guess the city I'm going to?
Of today?
some NBA news that came out today. I'll give you a hint. It is in the Suns division.
Okay, well, then it's got to be in Los Angeles.
It is the Los Angeles Clippers, where another season appears to be potentially doomed before it even starts, given that Kawhi Leonard is not unknown if he'll be ready for opening night after another offseason knee surgery and getting taken off the Olympic team. My ideal trade target, not Ivica Zubac. I think he has one of the better contracts in the NBA. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. Ty Lue loves him. He's the same thing as Nurkic, but even better and costs you less. I don't think he's moving. But if they are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and facing down a rebuild, potentially, or a reset, let's call it, Terrence Mann.
Whoa.
Can you get Terrence Mann? Can you give up as much as you can cobble together and get Terrence Mann back? Not as big as maybe what the Suns ideally need, but we know he can play bigger than he is. He has playoff experience. He's a bulldog. He's, can make open threes, handle the ball a little bit, switch on defense. If you could get Terrence Mann, how much better would Suns fans feel? I mean, we'd all be going to sleep better than we have in 3 years if that dude ended up on the team.
That's Alex Caruso without the three-point shot. Without which they don't need. They don't really need that. Now, he's not a horrific shooter. If I'm not mistaken, he's pretty good from the corner, which is something Josh Okogie could never put together. Who would you be giving up in this scenario? Is it Yousef Nurkic?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think in that case I would be... Yeah, you are. But, okay, so let's get more specific here. So Terrence Mann makes $11.4 million. So you could do Allen potentially there if you needed to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you ask for like Mo Bamba in addition. He's on this team on a minimum contract. Center tends to be a position we see buyout guys become available more often than other spots, just because there's a lot of older centers just kind of hanging around. Maybe you get one that way. Yeah, it makes them smaller. Maybe this is more of an Allen trade, but I like Mann regardless.
Yeah, you know this, but let me just caution everyone, because when you say that, people are like, oh, we could just pick up someone in the buyout market when that happens. The buyout market is almost always fool's gold. I can't think of a singular player in the buyout market that has helped a team in the last decade. I mean, Terrence Ross was huge for the Suns team and never saw the court until it was too late in that playoff series. So that would have to be an Allen thing for me. And then people are, you're contradicting yourself. He's just a small, but Terrence Mann does everything else very differently. Much better defender.
Yeah.
He's Josh Okogie, but 2 inches taller and can shoot from the corner. Again, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't have Terrence Mann.
He's a solid shooter.
I didn't have Terrence Mann. He doesn't have the Alex Caruso 3-point shot that I can almost be certain of.
Let's see. Mann shot 35% last year, but he's hovered in the high 30s or low 40s for most of his career, but low volume. Not somebody that's going to be gunning from there, but serviceable. All right, but I did like the one you dropped my way before we hit record. So let's go there.
The one that I dropped your way before I hit record. I can't remember who that was. Who was that? I have a list
that was
of
in
players.
Central Florida.
Oh,
playoff
yes.
team last year. Yeah.
He's not written down on my list for some reason. I am insanity. I don't know why, but I mentioned you. Wendell Carter Jr. That would be a guy. Wow, I am such a nutcase. But Wendell Carter Jr. is a guy that I'm really into. That, I believe, is going to cost you your 2031 first-round pick. This is not something that I just got on my own. I like to give credit where it was due. Gerald Bourguet had posted about this on PHNX Sports. Obviously, clearly a very smart guy, and it was something that had really piqued my interest. Now, this would be, in his trade, a Grayson Allen thing, which I am all for. What do the Magic need more than anything? They did get KCP. That is something, right? Brian Windhorst hands. But they could still use some more shooting. If you watch that Cavaliers Magic series, that was a brick show, man. That was hard to watch at times. Seriously, it was. That's why I went to 7 games. Grayson Allen could fit in on that team. He's scrappy. They have, for anyone that doesn't watch the Magic, they could literally start 5, 6, 10 guys and be perfectly fine. Now, they can't do it because a lot of those guys can't shoot, but they can go ultra big. They have size. At the deadline, they've got a bunch of guys, Jonathan Isaac and company, that maybe that's a guy that I could super be into. Wendell Carter Jr., Grayson Allen, that might cost you a 2031 overall pick, and I'd do it. I can't believe it. I didn't remember.
Yeah, I think you could do protected there. Magic is an interesting one to me, though. because they're not going to be a traditional seller, right? But they had this weird offseason where they basically had a lot of their own players hit the market, and they pretty much just re-signed all of them. So they're almost too deep right now. They're not going to be able to play everybody. They re-signed, well, Carter's contract just kept going, but they re-signed Mo Wagner and Goga Batadze. And so they have 3 guys who they're paying like real money to, all at the center position, which is not exactly, a spot teams tend to invest in 2024. So I could see them getting rid of some players in order to improve, even though they're not selling or tanking the way a lot of other teams, like I kind of pitched the Clippers, might be. So I like it. What's your next one? Who else is on your mind here?
So someone that I thought of, and he's bigger, he's longer, he fits kind of what the Suns do. This is another Grayson Allen thing. I'm sticking on it. Larry Nance Jr. over at the Pelicans. And I think this could simply be a Grayson Allen.
Although he's actually on the Hawks now.
Whatever. I think this could still be a great. I did not know that. Casual basketball brain.
I reminded it. No. I'm laughing because I don't think anyone knows. He went over in the DeJounte Murray trade. So he's over in Atlanta now. Yeah.
Forgot about that. Anyways, Larry Nance
But
Jr.
even better because they're tanking. So they're going to be more game to get rid of him than New Orleans would have.
And I think that might be a Grayson Allen, Larry Nance swap. I don't think you'd have to add anything more to that trade. I mean, maybe, okay.
Nance is expiring.
If they're really just dug in, throw him a second-round pick. You could do that as well. But he'd fit well for this team. He's a fine defender, not the best shooter, but around the rim he's good, and he's long. This team could use that. And his dad played for the Phoenix Suns. Boom. Make it happen.
Be a good story. He would be the perfect kind of small ball option at the center spot that the Suns just really don't have right now. We all are crossing our fingers. Can Oso become that? And as a rookie 40th pick, probably not. He could be. I even think, frankly, because he's an expiring contract and he's a little older, tends to get hurt every year, the Suns probably could ask for something in addition to Nance to even that out. I don't think they're giving in that trade. I think they're getting more in that trade. So I like it. Another one for me. I'll throw out 2 that one is also from PHNX, which was Derek Jones, just to go the same Clippers route. He moved teams this summer, remember, fired his agent and all that crazy stuff, got kind of in the middle of a scam a little bit, but ended up on the Clippers. But they're going to be mediocre at best, and I could even see them shopping him if they're good or decent, frankly, just to see what they can get. He's a vet they don't really need. And then Walker Kessler, let's not forget. It's a center we talked about a lot. I'm not giving up Grayson Allen or Yousef Nurkic for him. But if we're talking more in the Josh Okogie world, or we're talking about, somebody a little bit less expensive and you're not giving up that 2031 pick, you're giving up some seconds in Okogie or you're whatever. If it ends up truly being a flyer and he's still in the doghouse in Utah, I would not mind trying him out. He's a young guy with upside. You could do a lot worse. Suns need more of those. So those are 2 more names.
Yeah. The way you put it is fine. I put my head down and I kind of laughed because you said Walker Kessler and every Suns fan here shot up. That has been the golden boy before Tyus Jones came to this team. Everyone was we just give up Yousef Nurkic. I was like, why don't we just hold on just giving up Yousef Nurkic for Walker Kessler? A guy who was disappointing. I
don't buy him as a starter yet.
No,
like some Suns fans.
But as a backup 5, sure. And I would believe in Walker Kessler more than Shield Your Ears Suns fans. Bull. Like I like him coming in as my second guy. Yeah. But who's he? Derek Jones Jr. You said that one pre-show, and I thought for a second that I was going to steal yours. That's why I got confused. I was like, I didn't say Derek Jones Jr. You did.
Yeah.
Derek Jones Jr. I would give up the 2031 overall pick easy, and whoever they want, Allen or Nurkic. Derek Jones Jr. was so good for the Mavericks last year. Also, former Suns slam dunk participant once a long time ago. Airplane mode, that's where that originated.
Yep.
Get Derek Jones Jr. over here. Good defender, has worked on his three-point shot recently. Was spotty in the finals. But, man, I would love a lengthy, good defender and an athlete as well, and somewhat young in Derek Jones Jr. Yeah, I'd give up.
Honestly,
I'd give up either guy.
Of anybody in the whole league, that might be the closest one-to-one comp for Ryan Dunn that you could find. Really, you're just getting the vet Ryan Dunn at that point, truly. But yeah, I can't wait for our February shows because I love to nerd out and get so granular about trades, and you're just give it up. make the team better.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
Matt Ishbia, and I'm James Jones, I guess.
I'm guns a-blazing.
Any other names you want to shout out real quick before?
Yes, I do want to shout out one because why not? He's in the trade speculation for the Suns every year. And for some reason, I think he's going to end up here because we're going to say, hey, I know you wanted Derrick Jones Jr. and I know you wanted Wendell Carter Jr., but you're getting Torrey Craig. Let's just run it back again.
Oh.
Let's just run it back with Torrey Craig. He's got playoff experience. He is a wing. He's a fine defender. I think sometimes he had that cool lob in the Nuggets Suns series.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's just run it back, man. Just because why not? Give up Josh Okogie. He's got a
turning
little bit more
34 in December. I'm scared. But yeah, Okogie, sure. Get it done. What
They
do
just
I
try
care?
to
James Jones just called it in when you said that. He's chomping
It's
at the
gonna
bit
happen.
to trade for Torrey for a third time. He's
Why not?
over the moon. Yeah. It'll be fun. There are targets, and we'll see more as the year develops, but it's not easy, to get the types of players that the Suns need. That's why they don't have them right now. So we'll have to figure that out as the market materializes. That'll wrap us up. Hit follow or subscribe. One more show to round out the week, and then Media Day Monday, guys. Get hyped, hit that button, and we'll talk to you next week.